Prime Minister, if someone was to come and tell you that they'd been raped, would you as Prime Minister be able to look them in the face and say to them that there's a high chance of justice being done?
I want everybody to have that confidence, Beth, and at the moment I've got to tell you that the answer to that is no, I don't think people do have enough confidence in the criminal justice system to deal with that accusation, those reports fast enough, and I don't think people have a feeling that the police are handling these issues fast enough either. And that is certainly, that's led to this feeling of fury, of frustration, betrayal on the part of millions of people, most of them women, about what's happening. Now, I can point to figures showing that appalling murders such as the murder of Sarah Everard are in fact very rare and not increasing in the way that's. But that's right. Now that feeling is, I think, caused by frustration at the level of successful prosecutions.
Your Justice Secretary said that he was deeply ashamed by the government's record. Are you deeply ashamed?
I certainly am not happy with the way the things have been going, and I think that there are a lot of causes. I think the police do a wonderful job. I don't want to. It's very important. I think hundreds of thousands of police officers, men and women, will be absolutely sickened by what they're seeing, because I know how hard they work and how much they care.
They might be angry as well, mightn't they?
And
they might be angry as well about cuts that have made it harder for them to do their job.
Well, what they've actually got is more police out on the street, and we've recruited.
Acknowledge that?
We've recruited.
You don't acknowledge
20,000.
that austerity might have led to some of these.
We've got 10,000 more of the 20,000 that we promised, and yes, I want to see more police out on the streets, and yes, we're investing in things that make streets safer. But I think the issue, Beth, is there are many sides to it, and what I think is driving people wild with frustration is the length of time it takes, and that's caused by.
To that on Sunday, I asked you about that, and you said the CPS are not dealing with complaints fast enough or taking them seriously enough. But if we look at the CPS,
it's not just the CPS.
CPS spending, it fell cuts of 28%.
But we put
in real terms. No, let me finish. Between
Please.
2010 to 2019, so the cuts make it more difficult to prosecute, and you have to acknowledge, don't you, that actually this is partly on Conservative governments from 2010 to now.
We've put more prosecutors back in. We put another 200 prosecutors back in. What it is?
Budget cuts of 28%.
I think the problem.
CPS warned in December 2019 government cuts could be driving down rape prosecutions after the criminal justice system, and this is a quote from them, was close to breaking point because of cuts. I know you're changing things.
We are putting
more prosecutors.
We are putting many more prosecutors in, and have done.
But do you acknowledge that was part of the
issue? The issue is, I don't think it's always and everywhere a question of more public money.
Oh, because Robert Buckland, though, your former Justice Secretary, he did say budget cuts were partly to blame when he published the Rate Review. He said, like all parts of public service, big choices were made in the last decade because of the position we all faced economically. I think that's self-evidently the case. Is he wrong?
But we're putting more people in, and we have done for a while now. I think the phenomenon today is not just a question of money, and though we are putting more money in.
What I'd like you to do is acknowledge. Okay, you can change it, but I'd like you to acknowledge that the CPS and the Justice Department have faced cuts. And it's not just about the CPS and the police, it's also on the government.
I think I understand that you want to blame the government for not spending enough money.
That's not what I...
I think that's what you said.
But I didn't say blame the government, I said acknowledge your part in it.
And so what we're doing is, and I certainly acknowledge my responsibility for all of this, but what we're doing is putting more prosecutors into the CPS. But what we also need to fix, Beth, is the way the whole thing works, and so you need tougher sentences, which we brought in, to act as a proper deterrent to people. But the issues that we have are complex questions of evidence and the defence being able to, under disclosure, to access stuff from victims' mobile phones, which is incredibly distressing and which is causing a great deal of delay and is causing a great deal of victim attrition.
Prosecution rates.
And that is the problem. And that is what we need to fix. And what I've said to...
Prosecution rates are the lowest on record.
And that's because of this problem.
1,109 prosecutions,
and
55,696 rapes.
And I'm totally fed up with it. And what's happened is that there are more people coming forward, more women, and it's almost, of course, almost invariably women coming forward with accusations, and that's if there's one sense in which that's a good thing because it means that more people have the confidence to come forward, and the tolerance for this is declining. But what you've also got to have is a contraction of that period, that the nightmarish period between reporting it and the disposal and the sentencing, and that is taking far too long.
I mean,
so the reasons for that are those those evidential issues that I've raised. We've got to fix that. We've got to have much simpler protocols so that not everything on a woman's phone can be disclosed.
So, Prime Minister,
and we've got to simplify things and make sure that the perpetrators of these crimes, invariably men, get the punishment they need.
I want to talk to you about the economy as well.
Yes.
Before we do that, just in terms of the rape review and targeted conviction rates, you have set a target for your government to increase back to 2016 levels. That's 5,190 prosecutions. That's 2,991 convictions by 2024. Will you make that, as Prime Minister, your personal responsibility? If we come back here in 2 years' time...
I care deeply about this.
But will you make that your personal... Because you've made a department for levelling up.
I will do everything. I will do everything I can to deliver that. It's going to be incredibly tough. Partly because of the evidential problems.
So you're not sure you can hit the target?
We will do everything that we can. We're throwing everything at this. I have regular meetings with the Crime and Justice Task Force. We get all the departments together. Things are actually starting to improve, and you are seeing some signs of acceleration in these cases. But I want to see much more. And to answer to get back to your first question, do I want people to feel confident in the streets? Yes, I do, Beth. And by the way, I do think people should feel overwhelmingly confident.
Would you like to just apologise to women over this in the way that Robert Buckland did?
I think that certainly on behalf of government overall, I think that this is something where we have government, the whole system has not done well enough. I said it. If you look back, I said it as soon as I got into it. It was one of the first things I said in Prime Minister's Question Time when I was elected.
I'm going to run on because I need to talk to you about the economy, and I spent a lot of time on that because I think it's very important for all the women and men watching our channel. Just on the cost of living and wages, inflation running at over 3%, heading towards 4%. The Bank of England might push up interest rates. Are you relaxed about that?
Look, the Bank of England must make its own decisions, but what I think is that the UK economy is part of a global economic system that is coming back to life very rapidly.
Are you worried about inflation?
And I'm very encouraged.
Are you worried about inflation?
I'm very encouraged by the growth that I'm seeing.
I understand, but are you worried about inflation?
Well, people have been worrying about inflation for a very long time. I'm looking at robust economic growth. And by the way, those fears have been unfounded. I'm looking at robust economic growth. I think that the supply systems that we have, logistics, the supply chains we have are incredibly clever and robust. And supply will meet demand, and you're seeing that now in the petrol forecourts where supply is coming in. There is a problem of demand, as you know, a very human thing, and I appreciate people's frustration on that. But people need to behave in the normal way. And as the global economy recovers and as the UK economy comes roaring back to life, you're going to see brilliant businesses, brilliant people making sure that we have the supplies that we need. And if you're going to ask about Christmas,
I have one more question,
Christmas will be considerably better this year than last year.
Stop. I've got one more question. National minimum wage. You talk about wanting to raise wages. Why don't you lift the national minimum wage? You've got it in your power.
We'll see what we've lifted the living wage already by a record amount. I'm proud to have introduced the living wage, and as the Conservative government introduced it. Let's see what the Low Pay Commission says. But we're also doing an awful lot to help people on low incomes. And what's happening now is that people on lower incomes are actually seeing their wages rise faster than people on higher incomes.
I'm taking that as you're not ruling out.
You should wait and see what Rishi does. But we will do everything we can to look after people in the months ahead.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.